Listen up, family. God's got a plan, and your life's about to shift. Folks, there's a moment in your life when the earth starts trembling under your feet, not to tear you down, but to lift you up. You feel it deep in your spirit, don't you? A nudge, a whisper, a call from God Himself. Something's moving in you. The pain, the struggles, the nights you cried out, they weren't wasted. They were God's way of preparing you for a breakthrough. I'm telling you, with the Lord as my witness, your life is about to take a turn for the better. How do I know? Because God sends signs, not accidents, not random moments, but divine signals that He's working something mighty in your life. If you open your eyes to these signs, if you trust His plan, you'll step into a season of purpose, abundance, and unstoppable faith. Let's walk through this together, guided by His light. Number 1, you're feeling uneasy, and that's God's call. There's a time when everything you thought you knew starts to feel off. You wake up, and your soul's restless, not with fear, but with a holy stirring. It's not just nerves, it's deeper. It's God telling you the life you're living ain't big enough for the purpose He's placed in you. The job that felt secure now feels like chains. The talks that used to light you up, they're empty. The dreams you chased, they're too small for the person God's shaping you to be. You're questioning it all, your work, your circle, your choices. Let me make it plain, that unease you're feeling, it's not a curse, it's a blessing from above. It's your spirit, guided by God, saying you've outgrown the old you. Growth don't come from comfort, family. It comes from that holy restlessness whispering, God's got more for you. That unease is where transformation begins. It's the Lord opening your eyes to see your life anew. Maybe you've been putting up with things you don't deserve. Maybe you've settled for less than God's best. Maybe you've been living safe when the Lord's calling you to live bold. Right now, God's stirring your soul because He's pushing you out of your comfort zone. Think about it. When a mother eagle knows her young one's ready to soar, she shakes up the nest. She makes it prickly, stops bringing food, nudges that baby to the edge, not to harm it, but because she knows it's time to fly. That's what God's doing with you. The comfort that held you is now holding you back. The Lord's calling you to something greater. And that means trusting Him in the unknown. But here's the trap. Too many folks think unease means they're failing. They wonder, why am I so unsettled? Why ain't I happy? Instead of leaning into God's call, they run. They distract themselves with noise, cling to old ways, stay stuck because they're scared of what's next. But let me ask you, if a snake don't shed its skin, what happens? It dies, trapped in what used to protect it. You, my friend, are being called by God to shed the old you. If you resist, if you stay comfortable, you'll miss the person God created you to be. That unease is God's messenger. It's His voice waking you up. Ignore it, and it'll get louder, showing up as frustration, exhaustion, even sickness. Your body and soul are speaking God's truth. Are you listening? Every great change in history started with someone feeling what you're feeling. Every person you look up to, they hit a moment where God said, you can't stay the same. They had to grow. They had to leave folks behind. They had to trust God's plan over their fears. Now, it's your turn. Too many crave comfort over God's calling. They pray for change but fight the process. They want victory but dodge the struggle. But hear me, growth ain't easy, changing your ways is tough. Cutting toxic ties hurts. Stepping into God's purpose, that's a leap of faith. You gotta choose comfort or transformation. You can't have both. You can stay in a life that's safe but small, or you can trust God's unease and step into His plan. Look back at your biggest wins. I bet they came after unease, heartbreak that built your faith, a loss that pushed you to chase God's dreams, a setback that led to a comeback. It hurt then, but now you see it was God's hand. That's what's happening now. That restless spirit ain't a problem. It's God inviting you to rise, to stop settling, to claim the purpose He wrote for you. If you're uneasy right now, praise God. It means you're growing. It means you're on the edge of something holy. It means the Lord's preparing you for a new level. Will you trust Him or will you run? Most folks run. They make excuses, say it ain't time, wait for it to feel easy. But God's plan don't wait for your convenience. The life He's got for you demands action before you're ready. It demands faith, courage, and a heart willing to be uneasy. Change is scary. I know. Letting go feels like losing yourself. But what if I told you everything you're praying for is on the other side of this unease? That the life God's promised is waiting, but you got to trust Him to step into it. Fear will say, stay safe. Doubt will whisper, what if you fall? But what if this unease is God's way of launching you into a life bigger than you ever dreamed? So here's my challenge, lean into that unease. Don't fight it. Don't run from it. Ask, Lord, what are you teaching me? Maybe He's saying change your path. Maybe He's saying walk away from what's toxic. Maybe He's saying take that leap you've been dodging. Don't ignore His voice. The longer you do, the louder it'll get. One day you'll wake up and see you've wasted years running from God's call. You weren't made to stay still. You weren't made to settle. You were made for a purpose, God's purpose. That purpose demands you grow, evolve, become the person He sees in you. Right now, God's giving you a choice. Stay comfortable and repeat the same story, or embrace His unease and step into His breakthrough. This ain't the end, it's the beginning. That unease ain't failure. It's God telling you you're on the verge of something life-changing. If you trust Him, if you keep walking in faith, you'll look back and know this was the moment God changed everything. Number 2, you're losing folks, but God's clearing your path. There's a season when you look around and see the people you thought were forever aren't there anymore. Maybe they walked out. Maybe you had to let them go. Maybe you grew past them, or they couldn't keep up with you. It hurts, no doubt. It feels like your heart's being torn, like your past is slipping away. You can't hold on no matter how hard you try. You start questioning, was it real? Did they ever care? Was I blind to who they were? Here's the truth, when folks leave, it ain't always a loss, it's God working. It's a sign you're growing, that your journey's taking you where they can't follow. Losing people ain't easy, but hear this. Everyone in your life's got a season, and God sets the clock. Some folks are meant for a moment, and when that moment's done, they gotta go. It don't feel right. You gave them your heart, your time, your love. You thought they'd be there when you reached the top. But what if God's saying they're leaving is part of His plan? That their absence is making room for His blessings? That pain you're feeling, it ain't punishment, it's God preparing you. He's readying you for the next chapter. Not everyone can walk where God's leading you. Some were only meant to go so far. When you cross that line, they fade out. Here's where it gets tough. Most folks hold on tight. They fight for bonds that don't fit anymore. They beg people to stay when the spirit's already shifted. But listen, when someone wants to leave, let them go. If they're pulling back, don't chase. If they were meant for your future, God wouldn't let them walk out now. You can't force folks to fit into God's plan for you. It hurts, I know. It makes you feel like something's wrong with you. But nothing's wrong, you're just growing in God's grace. When you grow, folks either grow with you or fall away. Think back every time you lost someone. Didn't God give you something? Maybe you lost a friend but found peace. Maybe you lost love but found yourself. Maybe you lost folks holding you back and God gave you room to become who He made you to be. God's always clearing what don't belong. We don't see it at first. We think we need those people, that we can't make it without them. But one day you wake up still standing, still breathing, stronger than ever. That pain cuts deep because you tied your worth to those folks. You saw yourself through their eyes. Now they're gone. And you feel lost. But hear me, you ain't lost. You ain't broken. You're stepping into a version of yourself that don't need their approval. That's power. When you stop seeking validation from those who left, you find God's truth about your worth. You walk taller. You think clearer. You stop waiting for others to cheer your growth and start praising God for it. Some of these folks weren't just anybody, they were your ride or dies, your family, the ones you swore would always have your back. But sometimes the closest ones hold you back the most. Sometimes those you love deepest keep you from God's fullness. Not everyone cheers your growth. Some liked you better when you were struggling, when you needed them. When you start rising, when you start chasing God's call, they pull back. It's painful, but it's God's plan, because the more you grow, the clearer you see who's truly for you. Real friends don't vanish when you change. Real love don't fade when you grow. The folks God's placed in your life, they'll celebrate your journey, not fear it. If someone leaves because you're becoming who God made you to be, let them go. What's meant for you won't make you shrink. It won't demand you stay small. It won't ask you to dim God's light in you to keep them comfortable. So ask yourself, are you grieving folks God didn't mean to keep? Are you clinging to bonds that ended? Are you dragging people into a future God didn't design for them? If so, release them. Trust God. If they were meant for you, they'd still be here. If they ain't, something greater's coming. You don't got to chase nobody. You don't got to prove your worth. The right ones will see it. The right ones will stay. Those who don't, they were never part of God's plan. This ain't the end, it's a new start. The loss you feel is God making space for his blessings. The pain shaping you into who he always saw. Don't fight it. Don't resist. Embrace it. Let God transform you. One day you'll look back and see the folks who left weren't meant to stay. The ones who stayed, they're the ones God sent to walk with you. Number 3, God's sending you messages everywhere. Life's got a way of speaking when you're on the cusp of something holy. God whispers through patterns, through moments that keep showing up, through messages that follow you like a shadow. At first you might think it's nothing. A verse you never noticed keeps hitting you. A phrase pops up in a song, a book, a stranger's words. Everywhere you look, God's putting the same truth in your face. It stops you cold. It makes you wonder, is this chance, or is God trying to get my attention? I'm here to tell you, this ain't chance. This ain't random. This is God Almighty speaking to you. When his message keeps showing up, it's because he's got something you need to hear, something you need to grasp before you take your next step. When you're about to step into God's greater plan, he starts dropping signs. He nudges you again and again, preparing you for what's coming. But are you listening? Are you waving off his signs, saying they don't mean nothing? Are you ignoring God's voice, telling yourself it's all in your head? Truth is, most folks don't hear God out. They see his signs. They feel his nudge, but they don't move. They don't stop to ask, Lord, why does this keep showing up? What are you calling me to do? What shift do you want in me? They stay comfortable. They stay stuck. They miss the path God laid out. But you hear reading this because God's calling you to hear him. If you keep seeing the same signs, if God's message keeps finding you, stop brushing it off. Stop calling it coincidence. God's guiding you to something holy, and you got to listen. These messages ain't random. They show up when you're ready. They come when your spirit's shifting. They appear when you're at a crossroads and God's pushing you toward his path. Maybe you keep seeing a verse about faith, about stepping out, about trusting God's plan. Deep down, you know you've been hesitating, holding back, waiting for a perfect moment that don't come. Well, hear this, the moment's now. God's sign is here. His message keeps repeating because he needs you to hear it, to act on it, to move toward the future he's got waiting. Or maybe God's message is about letting go. Maybe he's telling you to release someone or something that ain't for you, but you're fighting it. You're holding tight to what's familiar, even though you know it's draining your soul. So God keeps sending that message louder each time until you can't ignore it. Sometimes God don't let you dodge what he's saying. He keeps knocking till you open the door. You don't got to have it all figured out. You don't need every answer. But you got to trust God's messages ain't random. They're leading you to the person he's calling you to be. Ignore them, and you delay his plan. But the second you start listening, the second you ask, Lord, what's this mean for me? That's when things shift. God don't waste his breath. He don't send signs for nothing. If his message keeps showing up, it's because he's calling you to act. Maybe it's time to leap in faith. Maybe it's time to walk away from what's holding you back. Maybe it's time to stop doubting and believe God's got you ready for more. You know what it is? Deep down, you feel His truth. You're just waiting for His confirmation. Well, this is it. This is God's sign. A sign. Stop waiting. Stop stalling. Stop telling yourself you need more time. God's message keeps coming because now's the time. The you He's shaping is waiting for you to step up. Fear's the only thing in your way. But you're ready. God wouldn't send these signs if you weren't. You wouldn't feel His pull if He didn't have a plan. What you gonna do? Ignore God's voice? Act like you don't hear Him, like you don't know what He means? Or are you gonna trust Him? You're gonna believe He's leading you to something better, even if you can't see it yet? When you listen, when you follow God's signs, that's when your life changes. That's when His plan aligns. That's when you step into the future He wrote for you. Once you start hearing God, you'll never see life the same. You'll see His answers were always there, right in front of you. God was always speaking. You weren't lost, you just weren't listening. But now you hear. Now you see. Every sign, every word, every nudge, it's all leading you here. Now's the time to act because God's waiting for you to say yes. Number 4. God's testing you like never before. It feels like God's pushing you to your breaking point, stretching you beyond what you thought you could bear, making you wonder if you've got the strength to keep going. That ain't by mistake. That ain't chance. When you're about to step into God's next chapter, the tests get heavier. The pressure builds. The obstacles look bigger. Why? Because God's asking, are you ready for the blessing I'm preparing? You don't reach God's next level without a test. You don't walk into His greatness without proving you can carry it. Right now, if it feels like the world's against you, like you can't catch a break, like every step forward gets yanked back, it's because you're standing on the edge of God's power. God's watching to see if you'll keep moving, keep praying, keep fighting, or if you'll crumble under the weight. Most folks break. They give up when God's test gets too hard. They think it means they ain't meant for more, that they should settle, that they should quit. That's why so many never see God's plan. They don't know the struggle's there to strengthen them, to refine them, to shape them into who they need to be for what's coming. The you that'll walk into God's next chapter, that you ache, that you don't doubt, that you don't fold under pressure, that you's built on God's strength, ready for the life waiting on the other side of this test. This fight you're in, it ain't here to destroy you. It's here to reveal God's power in you. It's here to show you what you're made of. When you push through, when you refuse to quit, when you lean on God's strength, that's when everything shifts. That's when you show you're ready. That's when God moves mountains for you. Because He rewards those who trust Him and keep going. I know it's tough. I know you're weary. I know you're asking why it's got to be so hard, why every step feels like a battle, why it seems like you're stuck. But the ones who win, the ones who rise, the ones who claim God's promise, they keep moving, even when it hurts. They know the test is part of God's process, that every struggle, every hurdle, every setback is building them for His glory. You might not see it now. All you feel is the pain, the frustration, the weight. But one day you'll look back and see this was God shaping you. It was Him molding you into who you needed to be. Every great story's got a chapter of struggle. Every victory's got a moment where it looked like defeat. The difference: those who win keep going. They don't let the test define them. They don't let pain stop them. Do the same. Stop seeing this test as punishment and start seeing it as God's training. He ain't trying to break you. He's proving you're ready for what you've prayed for. Every time you ask for more, every time you seek God's plan, He don't just hand it over. He asks you to show up. He asks you to fight for it. He asks you to trust Him. If God's testing you harder than ever, it means His blessing's close. You're on the edge of a breakthrough. You're nearer than you think. The only thing between you and God's promise is your faith to trust this ain't the end. Believe this test is preparing you, not destroying you. So what you gonna do? Let the struggle make you quit. Let the test tell you you're not enough. Or you're going to stand tall, dig deep, and keep moving in God's strength. If you don't quit, if you don't break, if you trust God through this, you'll step into something greater than you ever dreamed. The life you've prayed for, the future you've seen in your heart, it's closer than you know. Just hold on. Take a deep breath, wipe your tears, remind yourself you're God's child, and keep going. Keep praying. Keep fighting. Your breakthrough's on the other side of this test. When you come through, you won't be the same. You'll be stronger. You'll be wiser. You'll be unstoppable. You'll see everything you faced was God building you into the person He always meant you to be. Number 5, you're guarding your spirit. And God's honoring that. There's a time when you start feeling different in a way you can't quite put into words but can't ignore. It's like one morning God shifts something in your soul. The things that used to excite you don't move you no more. The conversations that kept you buzzing now drain you. The folks you used to run with their energy don't feel right. You feel this need to step back, to create space, to protect your spirit like never before. That ain't you being cold. That ain't you being selfish. That's God's growth in you. That's you preserving the spirit He gave you. That's the first sign God's about to lift your life to a new level. When you start guarding your spirit, you're telling the world and God that you value the peace He's placed in you. You're seeing your peace is worth more than gold. You're knowing not everyone gets a piece of you. That shift, that truth, it's God's power working in you. Most folks spend their lives giving their spirit away to the wrong things. The wrong people, the wrong fights. All because they're scared to set boundaries. But you're done with that. You're waking up to God's truth. Your spirit is holy. Who you let in your space shapes where God's taking you. When you start cutting out the noise, when you get intentional about where you pour your time, that's when God starts moving your life forward. It ain't easy. Realizing you've outgrown folks hurts. Feeling like you don't fit where you used to stings. Walking away from what felt like home takes courage. But your comfort zone will keep you stuck. Staying in familiar places will trap you in cycles God's trying to break. If you're guarding your spirit, it's because God's elevating you. He's pulling you out of places that hold you back. He's showing you where He's taking you. Not everyone can go. And that's all right. Every time God levels you up, you lose something. You lose folks who can't match your spirit. You lose interest in things that don't fit God's plan. You lose the need to explain yourself to those who don't get you. That ain't loss, that's God's blessing. Every time you choose your peace, every time you honor your spirit, every time you guard what God gave you, you're making room for His better, His bigger, His plan for who you're becoming. This ain't about shutting folks out for no reason. This ain't about hiding away. This is about knowing your spirit's your greatest gift from God. If you keep giving it to the wrong people, the wrong fights, the wrong habits, you'll never have enough left for God's work in you. You'll never have the clarity, the strength, the focus to step into His promise. Every person who's changed their life, every soul who's walked in God's greatness, they learned to guard their spirit. They chose who they let in. They said no to what didn't align with God's future. If you're feeling this need to step back, if certain folks don't vibe with you, no more. If you're craving time alone, don't fight it. That's God's voice guiding you. That's your soul saying it's time for a shift. The folks meant for you, the ones God sent, they'll get it. They'll cheer your growth. They'll lift your spirit, not drain it. But those who get mad, who guilt you for setting boundaries, they were feeding off your openness. It's hard, I know. It can feel lonely. Guarding your spirit can make you feel like you're walking solo. But you ain't alone, you're aligning with God. You're making space for His people. His chances, His moments to find you. that don't happen in chaos, that don't happen when you're giving yourself to those who don't value you. It happens when you stand firm, when you say, I'm worth more, when you know your spirit's too precious to waste. When you guard your spirit, your whole life shifts. You see clearer. You feel lighter. You draw in better people, better moments, better blessings because you're not running on empty. You're not sacrificing your peace to please others. You're walking in God's power. That's what changes everything. That's what opens doors you never saw coming. Stop feeling bad for putting God's peace first. Stop saying sorry for needing space. Stop explaining to folks who don't understand God's call on you. This is your life, your spirit, your future. If you don't guard it, nobody will. If you don't set boundaries, God will keep sending lessons till you do. If you don't honor yourself enough to walk away from what drains you, you'll keep circling the same struggles. Today, make a choice. Decide you're done giving your spirit to what don't serve God. Choose yourself. Honor yourself. Respect yourself enough to say, my peace is God's gift and I'm keeping it. Watch how He moves. Watch how your world changes. Watch how the right people, the right moments, the right blessings flow in like a river. When you guard your spirit, you make room for what God's got waiting. You make room for the life He planned. Number 6, God's sending small blessings your way. God's got a way of whispering before He roars. When He's about to change your life, one of the first signs is little blessings popping up out of nowhere. They might not shake the world. They might not be big, loud miracles. But they're quiet, holy reminders that God's working, that He's moving things in your favor. Maybe you get a call right when you need it. Maybe a door opens when you least expect it. Maybe someone you ain't talked to in years reaches out with words God knew you needed. Or maybe it's smaller, finding a few bucks in an old jacket, snagging the perfect parking spot. A stranger's smile that makes you feel seen. These ain't accidents. These are God's fingerprints. They're signs He's shifting things for you. Before God sends the big blessings, He tests you with the small ones. He sees if you notice, if you give thanks, if you see them as His hand at work. Most folks miss them. They call it luck, brush it off, think it's too small to matter. But you feel it. You know these blessings ain't random. They're God leading you somewhere. They're Him preparing you for something bigger. When you start seeing them, when you start thanking God for them, you're telling Him, I see your hand, Lord. I'm ready. That's when He opens bigger doors. It's easy to miss these moments when life's heavy, when you're waiting for that big breakthrough you've been praying for. But these small blessings, they're proof God's already moving. They're peeks at what He's got coming. When you lean into them, when you praise Him for them, you shift your spirit. You move from lack to abundance. You start expecting God's goodness instead of doubting it. That faith, that trust, that's what speeds up His plan. That's what pulls in more blessings, bigger blessings, blessings that'll change your life in ways you can't imagine. If you ignore these moments, if you shrug them off, if you wait for something huge before you thank God, you're missing His point. God don't bless those who overlook His gifts. He blesses those who see them, who thank Him, who know even the smallest things are His work. So when these little wins come, don't skip over them. Don't downplay them. See them for what they are. God's sign that your life's shifting, that you're stepping into His promise. God's blessings don't always come how you expect. They don't always show up with trumpets and lights. Sometimes they're whispers, sometimes they come in the quiet, in the small. Those who see them, who embrace them, they're the ones who open the floodgates. They're the ones who see God move in ways they never dreamed. Real gratitude don't wait for the big stuff. It starts with the small. It starts with God's kindness, with moments of peace, with that feeling that even if you can't see it all, He's working. I know what it's like to be so focused on what's missing you miss what God's already doing. I know what it's like to want that breakthrough so bad everything else feels small. But what you focus on grows. Focus on lack and you'll feel empty. Focus on God's blessings and you'll see more of them. That's how God works. That's how faith works. That's how change comes. Think about it. What small blessings has God sent lately? What moments of kindness, ease, or joy has He dropped in your lap? Maybe you got an answer you didn't know you needed. Maybe a weight lifted in a way you can't explain. Maybe you're seeing signs, numbers, faces, chances that are too steady to ignore. Whatever it is, see it. Thank God for it. Feel His love in it. These ain't random. These are God's signs. These are His steps leading you to something bigger, something better, something life-changing. It's hard in tough times to believe God's turning things around. It's hard to trust these little blessings mean something bigger's coming. But that's when you gotta hold tight to them. That's when you let them remind you God's moving, your prayers are heard, your work ain't in vain. No storm lasts forever. No struggle's eternal. When God starts sending small blessings, it's His sign the tide in your season's shifting, better days are ahead. Don't ignore them. Don't brush them aside, celebrate them. Hold them close. Let them remind you God's got you, He's guiding you, you're on His path. When you see every small blessing as God's promise, your life's changing. You ain't just waiting for good, you're living in it. You're walking in God's transformation. That faith, that's what turns small blessings into miracles bigger than you ever dreamed. Number 7, deep in your soul, you know God's got something big coming. There are moments when God whispers to your soul before the world catches up. It ain't logic. It ain't something you can explain. But deep inside, you know God's got something big on the way. You feel it in your spirit, in your bones, in the way the world feels different. You wake up knowing without a doubt that God's shifting your life, that something mighty's coming. Even if nothing looks changed, even if there's no proof, you trust it. You believe it. That feeling, that deep, holy certainty ain't random. It's God knocking, telling you to get ready. This feeling can confuse you because life might still look the same. You might still be in the same job, facing the same fights, waiting for the breakthrough you've prayed for. But something in you's different. It's like your soul knows what your mind ain't caught yet. This knowing ain't just hope. It ain't wishful thinking. It's deeper. It's God's truth. It's His voice saying, keep going. Keep trusting. Because what you've prayed for is closer than you know. This is where faith becomes your shield. The world might try to tell you nothing's happening, that God's silent. It might make you doubt, make you question if that feeling's real. But your soul ain't lying. When you feel God's promise that something big's coming, it means He's moving pieces. He's opening doors. His plan's already in motion. You might not see it, but it's there. Your job's to trust Him, to walk in faith even when there's no proof, to prepare for His blessing before it lands. Most folks stumble here. When they don't see quick results, they quit. When life looks the same, they lose heart. They ignore God's whisper, tell themselves they're wrong. That stops His blessing from reaching them. But you can't let that happen. You can't let doubt steal God's promise. That knowing in you is real. It's God's call to prepare. It's His sign to keep moving. It's His promise that your prayers, your work, your struggles are leading somewhere. Think back, how many times have you felt God's nudge before something happened? How many times did you sense His move before you could explain it? That wasn't chance. That was God's alignment. Right now, if you're feeling that deep, unshakable sense that something big's coming, you're standing on the edge of His glory. You're closer than ever. But you gotta hold on. You gotta keep pushing. Because the only thing between you and God's breakthrough is your faith to believe it, to prepare for it, to step into it before it's here. This is the hardest part, waiting, trusting, walking in faith when nothing makes sense. But the ones who win, the ones who see God's plan unfold, the ones who live the life He promised, they don't quit when it's unclear. They trust God's whisper even when the world says no. They keep going, keep preparing, keep believing even when quitting's easier. If you're feeling God's pull, that deep knowing something's shifting, listen to it. Don't ignore it. Don't brush it off. That feeling's holy. It's proof God's moving. It's the first step in His transformation. It's the confirmation you've been praying for. What you gonna do with it? Let doubt talk you out of God's plan. Or trust yourself, trust your path, trust God, and step bold into the future He's got waiting. What's coming is bigger than you can imagine. It's greater than your dreams. You feel it so deep because it's already yours. It's written in God's book. It's in motion. All you got to do is believe. All you got to do is prepare. When the moment comes, when God's breakthrough hits, you don't want to be the one who wasn't ready. You don't want to be the one fear held back. You want to be the one who saw it coming, who trusted God's whisper, who stepped into his plan with faith, with fire, with the unshakable truth that you were always meant for more. Hold tight to that feeling. Guard it. Let it remind you God's got something big, that your life's about to change, that everything you've prayed for, fought for, believed for is coming together in ways you can't imagine. When it happens, when God's moment arrives, you'll look back and know you always knew. You weren't hoping. You weren't guessing. You knew because God told you so. Closing words, get ready for God's breakthrough. Take a deep breath, family, and let God's truth sink in. This ain't just words, it's a wake-up call. A sign from God you needed today. If you're feeling uneasy, losing folks you thought were forever, seeing God's messages everywhere, facing tests like never before, this ain't the end. It's the start of something holy. Every struggle, every tear, every unanswered prayer, every goodbye, it's all part of God's plan. You ain't stuck. You ain't lost. God's positioning you for a breakthrough. His transformation's already unfolding. Trust it. Walk in faith even when the path's foggy. Everything you're facing, every sign, every fight, every weary moment is God's proof your life's about to shine. Waiting's tough. Holding on when you can't see God's move, believing in what you can't touch, that takes his strength. But you're stronger than you know. You've come too far. You've overcome too much. This next chapter God's writing, it's worth every tear, every sleepless night, every doubt. When his blessings pour in, when your struggles turn to victory, you'll see every moment was God preparing you. Don't quit now. Don't turn back. Keep moving. Keep guarding your spirit. Keep your heart open to God's small blessings, his signs, his whispers. Deep down, you know something big's coming, something life-changing, something that'll make every hardship worth it. When that day comes, when you step into the life God planned, you'll know you didn't just hope, you fought, you believed. You became the person ready for his gift. Go forward in God's strength. Keep your head high. Keep your spirit fierce. Never stop trusting the journey God's got you on. Your time's coming. Your breakthrough's near. When it hits, you'll step into it knowing you were always meant for more. I'm calling you, in God's name, to share your story below. You're special, chosen by him, and your words can lift someone else. Comment how God's moving in your life, what signs he's sending, what breakthrough you're praying for. Let's build each other up as God commands and walk this path together. Thank you for hearing his truth. Thank you for trusting yourself. May you walk in God's strength, purpose, and unshakable faith. God bless you. Stay strong. Stay ready.